Let me catch my breath, everyone. Well, hello. It's midday muster. I'm running a little behind today. I had a lot going on out of the holler that way. So anyway, yes, I went out and did a little door dashing because, it gets me out of the house and actually do things out here and, meet other people and just kind of, make the guys look askance. and they do, which is crazy. but then again, that's the way it works, I suppose. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about a couple of things that have started recently from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. He has ordered the renaming of the USNS Harvey milk, named in honor of a gay icon, a leader who was in public office and on the San Francisco City Council for, 11 months or so before he was killed, assassinated. So they're honoring that. And these people who did this, that would be Secretary Del Toro, different ones in the Navy. A few years back, they decided that they were going to honor different civil rights leaders. And it happens to be that Harvey Milk was one of them who actually helped get this thing moving in terms of expanding the rights for LGBT people. And this is a class of ships in the Navy that's the John Lewis class, and another civil rights icon. And so what we see is that there is a concerted effort by this administration, by Pete Hegseth and others within it, to remove all references to anything to do with minority populations. They've ordered the name change for the Harvey milk. Now, this feels personal to me. This feels deeply personal to me because my friend and I have sit in Annapolis. We sit at a bench on the Naval Academy grounds just a couple of years ago on her thinking bench, as she called it. That was her place to sit there at the end, out on the near the pier on the corner. And she and I sit there and we talked about different things, just kind of talking about what had come on within the Navy and come on within the Defense Department and all these things. And Paula is a tremendously smart person. She's class of 1985 from Annapolis, and I'm class of 1984 from Annapolis. And I'm going to tell you, she's a leader. She is a leader. She's a lawyer and a nurse. And she was asked to co-sponsor with Senator Feinstein, I think, that ship, the Harvey milk. And she got to go out there and actually break the bottle of sparkling wine, champagne on the bow of that ship and christen it as the Harvey milk. This is a direct affront and assault on people like me and my friend, Paula Neera. And I have not yet had an opportunity yet to speak with Paula. She and I met out in town in Annapolis again. We went to the museum. And I dare say they've removed things that she was involved in there at the museum. I'm sure they have. I mean, that's how petty all of this is. It's just bullshit, folks. It really is. That's all it is. It's bull. But they're not stopping with trans people. It does feel personal to me in that they've attacked the Naval Academy. And they've singled out the Naval Academy for books and all kinds. They've restored a lot of those books. Yes, they have. They've done a lot along that avenue to restore some of those things. They kept some of them out. And I'm going to tell you something. It's craziness to limit academic freedom and intellectual freedom, especially when you're trying to develop strategic leaders and leaders to go out into the services and lead our nation's military. If they can't think outside the box and if they cannot entertain opposing thoughts and ideas, whether they agree with them or not, then you don't have a real leader. You've got somebody who's stuck in a silo somewhere who's just going to regurgitate what you've told them they need to be saying and doing, and which is what's going on across the whole of the federal government right now. They are deliberately restricting words that can be said, the research that can be done, the knowledge that can be taught. Now, look, I'll make it very clear. This is something that has been going on. This is not new to just today or this particular administration. No. There is a concerted effort Every time any minority population gains just a little bit of parity with the rest of the population, conservatives have a tendency to go in there and want to stamp it down. They did it in McCarthy era. They did it with the Lavender Scare of the 50s. They did it with the Civil Rights Movement. They went after Ohio State where they killed 4 people for protesting the war. You can see a direct correlation between parity and equity for minorities and then efforts by conservatives to stamp it back down and kind of get it under control. But here's the thing, though. It comes and goes in cycles, and that's what we're seeing right now. We are at the point in this particular cycle where the conservatives have the power and the control to be able to do what they want. Back in the McCarthy era and the Lavender Scare and the Civil Rights era, when the conservatives pulled their head up out of the sand again, they actually were going after academic stuff then too, folks. They were actually removing books they didn't want taught. They were removing professors that they didn't want to teach. They were putting their hand over academia and saying, these are the things you can teach. And it took another 5-10 years to be able to straighten out the mess that had been caused by that. So it goes up and down. But generally, though, it's up. It's all of you who are thinking that this is just a really bad time and that it's going to be difficult. Yes, it is going to be difficult for minorities. By Hegseth going after the Harvey Milk was not a trans person. He was a gay man. There are accusations out there about all of this stuff that he had slept with an underage boy. And by that, I mean he was 17 at the time, according to all the information that I have, 17, late 16, 17. But we don't know that. There's no proof of that. There are people going around saying this has to do with removing his name because he was a pedophile. No, he was not a pedophile. Pedophile has to do with prepubescent children. That's pedophilia. If he did, it was never proven, never reported anywhere, ever. No matter where people look, you cannot find any kind of legal document that says anything about having sex with an underage young boy. And underage meaning just right shy of 18. Okay? That's not there. So the arguments that's being used along those lines are baseless. There's no proof, legal or otherwise, that any of that actually happened. Now, that's not to say it didn't. It could have. I don't know. But there's no proof one way or the other. No proof about it. It's just spreading of rumors for the sake of going after a gay man. Now, yeah, Harvey Milk actually did like to be associated with younger men. You know, that's the truth. We know that. But that does not rise to the level of pedophilia or even rape or anything like that. It does not rise to that level. There's no proof of it. No one has ever said anything about that and actually proven it. So changing the name on that ship, on the USNS Harvey Milk, has one goal and one goal only. And the thing is, why do you think it was done this month? It was done this month because it's Pride Month. That's it. This was a direct affront to LGBTQ plus people in this country. This is pointing a finger at them and saying, you're next. If you're gay or lesbian, you're next. That's what this says. If you don't believe it, you need to pull your head out of that brown butt you got it stuck up in. It's brown because they don't know how to wipe their tail off. Okay, so anyway, whew, Lordy. So Hegseth and Kevin Roberts, I mean, they know who I am. They know who Paula Neera is. These people are well aware of the impact that we have had on the lives of people in this country. LGBT people. Paula at Johns Hopkins as a program director. And me just being a loud activist, okay? And also an academy grad. So look, this is personal. This is an attack on me and Paula. And there are other trans graduates the class of 86, the class of 87. There are trans people from the class of 1964. I'm telling you, look, there's LGBT people throughout that whole list too, by the way, all those years. They're everywhere. Okay. So this is an attack on the entire class of people in the LGBT spectrum and that whole spectrum of people. That's what this is. And if that doesn't piss you off, and that doesn't stop all of this infighting that's taking place between all the different letters in that alphabet, they're coming after all of you, all of us, everyone. So I don't know why that is so difficult to see. They told you what they were going to do in the forward to the Project 2025's mandate for leadership. Clearly delineated. By the time you make it to the bottom of page 5, you have covered every single thing that's happening right now. And they're not stopping. They're taking steps here, a little step there, and a little bit of here, and building up this case. And then they can go back on that one and say, okay, look, this is what we have now, and this is what the law says, and the rules say, and the policy says this. They use that as the foundation for their next action. Their goal is to get rid of every minority in the military, whether veterans or not. And a friend and I were talking this morning about all of this. A veteran had to fight and struggle just to get endocrine care out in the community and had been promised that, but finally got it. Then had been promised about getting their passport adjusted and updated because the law that had put that in place had been put on hold, but yet they're being stymied at every turn. They're going after all minorities in this country. Now, look, there's this whole thing that based itself on the social Darwinism that Trump seems to like. He surrounds himself with the gold and glittery stuff, and sees himself in that vein, that way of viewing himself. That's his ego. Everything he's got is either gold or gilded or whatever, and it makes him feel like he's the king of the world. And Qatari gives him a jet that the family used to have, the Qatari family. Why? Well, it hasn't completed its sale yet or the transaction, but I think that the only reason they did it was because it appeased his ego. He likes gold and glittery things, folks. But here's the catch to all of this. He is not the one that's actually dictating all of this stuff. He is the mouth through which they are acting. You got Kevin Roberts, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, and a list of others. Their whole purpose is to put in place a religious nationalism. Now, notice I said religious because I want to make it clear there are Muslim nationalists. Just look in the Middle East or Indonesia. There are Hindu nationalists, Kush nationalists. Oh, let me see what else. Oh, yeah. There are Christian nationalists too. In this particular vein, this particular time in history, there's the Christian nationalists who think that they have a right and responsibility and are entitled to ruling over the whole country, whether they're elected or not. They are the ones with this idea of social Darwinism. They won't use that term, though, because that's anathema. But that's exactly what it is. They believe they are entitled to rule this country, whether they're elected to office or not. All you have to do is look at Matt Walsh in his bio over on his X page. He calls himself a theocratic fascist for a reason. Matt is self-aware. Matt knows who he is and not ashamed of who he is, and he calls himself a theocratic fascist. When you start realizing that that's who these people are and that's where they're coming from, then you'll begin to understand what this is really all about. This is about imposing their view of their religion upon the whole of this country and then spreading it overseas. Why do you think J.D. Vance went off on, the ultra-right groups over in Germany? And you got Hegseth doing things like that. And you got others doing things like that. They're trying to persuade the world to be like the U.S. Does that remind you of anything that happened before by any chance? Do you know where Hitler got a lot of his stuff from? I'm going to use Hitler because this is an example of how the influence from the U.S. changed the world. Adolf Hitler thought that the United States would side with him in the war. Don't believe it? Look it up. He thought that the United States would side with him in the Second World War. Why? Because we had all of these KKK people and all of these racist people in the country who were making their voices heard in the 20s and 30s. And they influenced Europe, and they influenced Hitler's thinking to the point where he thought that he could just go ahead and do this stuff in a blitzkrieg fashion and just do whatever he wanted to do, and the United States would stay out of it. Because he thought thought the same way. Because we had exported a lot of our thinking, our religious thinking, and the Bertrand Russell and all of this stuff with eugenics. We had exported all that stuff, and he just latched right onto it. It came from America, folks. It did. That's why he thought that he could just get away with whatever he wanted to do because the U.S. would stay out. Well, you know, we've got a long way to go yet. And we're in this cycle right now where the conservatives, and notice I'm saying conservative because there were times when it was the Democrats who were conservatives and the Republicans not so much. And it flips. I mean, that's also cyclic. That's also part of this combative political system that the United States has. It works, but it means that you're going to ride waves and cycles of things. You'll go swing left and swing right and swing left and swing right. Generally, it's upward, very, very, very slightly upward in establishing greater strength and greater parity with all of the different minorities. But it is a struggle to get there, folks. So what I'm going to tell you is hang on with all of this, because we know that we come out on the other end with gaining something a little bit, but we have to go through tribulation to get there. That's where we are right now. We're in the midst of a reset, a conservative reset that happens every few years. McCarthyism period, Lavender Scare, civil rights, you know, you can just pick a period of time and go right up the line. You can see there's a conservative reset because they're the majority in terms of the population. They can manipulate the population into saying and thinking and believing certain things are all about them, and they're going after them and their rights and telling people that if you give rights to that group, you're going to be taking away from your rights. No, that is not the freaking case. Having rights or parity with equality around this country is not a pie to be cut up and sliced and somebody loses when somebody else gains. No, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So with the Harvey milk and all of this stuff, this is personally attacking on me and my friend Paula. And I'm going to tell you, it pisses me off. It should piss you off too, because they're not stopping with just people like me or Paula. They're going after the entire group of minorities in the country. They want you subjugated, pushed back under the floorboards in the back of the closet and nailed down underneath that thing, and the thing sealed up with concrete. They want that they want you out of the way. Just look at what Matt Walsh says. He kind of is like the barometer of all of this. I mean, he's out here talking about making sure that gay people, gay couples, and lesbian couples do not adopt kids. Really? Yes, absolutely. He's looking at rolling back marriage equality. He's looking at, I mean, that's just not him. It's Pete, and it's J.D. Vance, and it's Christopher Rufo. All of these people are Christian nationalists. And it's not just your everyday garden variety Christian nationalism either. This one is dangerous. It doesn't even look anything like the Beatitudes of Jesus when he was talking in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The Beatitudes. Anyway, you can check all that out. There's nothing in it that's Christian, but it's a religion thing. I know this, that if Jesus showed up on their door in their church or their synagogue or their whatever mosque, if Jesus showed up there as a homeless person, they would say, "Hey, bro, you need to leave. This is not a place for you." Right? All the tech bros would kick in and go, "We don't want you around here." Yeah, it's exactly what they'd do. We know that. Whether you believe or not, we know that that's what they would do. Come back at 6 and I'll keep up this tirade, okay? See you later, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, everyone, in the comments. Let me go to the comments real quick. Let's see. Germany. Yeah, exactly. Rita Loy. Thank you.